Hey guys, Dylan here, and I decided to do a video on some of my favorite shonen anime. And if you don't know what shonen anime is anime or manga that is directed toward boys, or because there's shonen and then I think I'm saying right. Seinen. Seinen is more about the young adult male, while the shonen is more for the teenager male. And some of these you'll find out for some of these why. And and on this list, the only thing they're not ranked, the only ones that are ranked are in the top 5. The other ones I just couldn't, are just ones that I thought of that I have watched. So this is I shouldn't really call it my favorite, just mainly ones that I have watched, I guess. That's why I'm gonna put favorite in that title probably, but let's get started. Okay, this first one that I'm going to talk about is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which it's hard to do a summary of this because there's different parts. There's 4 parts out right now. There's a 5th part coming later this year. And it mainly follows the protagonist, which is someone that is in the Joestar family, or in the Joestar bloodline, as far as I know. And the first one started with, what was it? Jonathan? Yeah, Jonathan Joestar. And then Joseph Joestar. Then Jotaro. And then Josuke. Those are the first 4 parts. But it involves an adventure that they go on most of the time, involving some antagonist named Dio for the first part and 3rd part. The second part had to do with these stoned men that has a connection to something that was in the first part. There's a stone mask that turned that could turn people into vampires, and it connected the stone to that. So it connects the parts. Also connects the parts with the family. And for part 3, it had to do with Dio coming back, and they had to go find him and kill him, otherwise Jotaro's mother was going to die, blah blah blah. Took 48 episodes, but I still think that one is my favorite part, mainly because Jotaro is actually my favorite JoJo out of all other ones that are anime, because I've read the manga. I have not read the manga, so. Part 4 has to do with Josuke, which is an illegitimate, who is a bastard of Joseph Joestar. I say bastard because I think of like Game of Thrones, and an illegitimate child of Joseph Joestar. That's why he doesn't have the name of Joestar. I forgot his last name. But anyway, okay, enough talking about JoJo. Up next is Tokyo Ghoul, which people either like it or hate it, and if they like it, they either like or hate the anime. But let me just give first a summary of it, which is this: it's a world where there are these creatures called ghouls who can only live by feeding off of human flesh. And that may sound like cannibalism, but technically they're of their own species. And it's all about this whole kind of debate of should the ghouls live, should the ghouls die, that kind of thing. But there are some good ghouls, there are some bad ghouls. There are people who are killing even the good ghouls anyway. But in my head, whenever I watched it, what came to my mind was like racism and all that kind of stuff, like discrimination and all that. Whenever I was watching, other people might not, but that's where my head went with this anime. And it has 3 seasons now, 4th season coming October, I think. Okay, next is Yu-Gi-Oh, which I hope plenty of people who here have at least heard of it. Otherwise, what is the point of explaining it? But I'll do it anyway. Yu-Gi-Oh, the first, there's 5 series now for it, but I'm gonna explain the first one because that's the one I for sure watched. I'm watching GX now. I've watched a little bit of 5Ds, but anyway, the premise of it is literally people beat each other with card games. That's all the summary that you really need for it. Oh, and friendship. That's also that. Lots and lots of friendship. Up next is Soul Eater, which is one of the few animes that I watched, first started off with. One of the animes that I've started watching when I first started getting into anime more. Because I've always seen memes or gifs of it somewhere at some point. And I was like, okay, I want to watch this, and I ended up watching it. Anyway, the summary of this is that there are people who are meisters, weapons, who can turn into weapons, and people who can use them, called meisters. And it takes place in an academy, DWMA. DWMA, which is literally just a school for these meisters and weapons to retrieve souls that were eaten by others who were trying to become this thing called a Kishin. And that's literally the premise of it, of that whole universe. I'm sorry if I explain these very badly. And this is off the top of my head. So up next is Black Clover, which is actually a new one that started last year. A new anime that started last year, and it has a similar premise as do I have that on here? As Fairy Tail. If people haven't watched that, then I'll still explain. It's in a world where everyone has magic except for one person, as far as I know. Asta, the main protagonist, who pledges himself to be the Wizard King. Who wants to be the Wizard King. Well, that's basically the whole premise of it. But he gets this. After everyone gets their grimoires, a dark, ragged grimoire appears in front of him whenever he is trying to help his friend, who got chained up by someone and trying to take their grimoire, because it's the special 4-leaf clover grimoire. But this dark, I don't know, anti-magic this anti-magic grimoire is given to Asta, or it appears in front of him, so he's able to cut through magic with swords. And it's another thing of friendship and all that kind of stuff as well. Up next is Noragami. Now this one I actually was reading this one before I even watched it, because there was a giveaway that I won where I got the first volume of Noragami, and I really enjoyed it, so I decided to just keep reading it. And I really enjoyed the manga and the anime. And now the summary of it. The summary of it is basically we're in a world where there are gods that do exist. Gods of fortune, gods of chaos, gods of war, all kinds of different gods. Those are just the most memorable ones that I can think of. And the main protagonist, two protagonists, I think, is Yato, and I forgot her name. I haven't watched it in so long. I haven't read it in so long. Hiyori. Those two are the protagonists. Hiyori saves Yato from getting run over by a car, but because of that, she now is trapped between both of the living and the dead, in a middle ground where she can phase out of her body and move around at these top speed, not top speed, but can jump around and move around and do all this crazy stuff. And she's trying to get her body put back, trying to get her body back to normal in the beginning. And I'll just let you go, and I suggest to go watch and see what develops. This next one is called To Love Ru, which most people probably would prefer the manga versus the anime, but I really do like the anime. I haven't watched all of it. I've watched the first 2 seasons. I still have to watch Darkness, but it is definitely one of my favorite ecchi anime that I've watched, because of how weird how weird it is. It is really weird, and it's more, if anything, there's a lot more just it's more comedy than a story based, really. The anime, the manga, I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't watched it, and it involves I haven't watched it in so long, so I don't know the characters' names. But I know Lala, who is an alien. Lala Devilu, who is an alien that falls down. The main protagonist accidentally grabs her breast, and apparently that is how you propose to them. So now he's stuck in a engagement with Lala, because there's a good chance he might die if he doesn't go through with it. But there's a lot of shenanigans, because he also has a childhood friend. Is it a childhood friend? It's someone who he has a crush on that's not Lala. But all kinds of ecchi and comedy stuff goes on throughout. Up next is Death Note, which a lot of people have heard of this already. Definitely have heard of this. In fact, most people had to have watched it to be considered a part of the anime community and all that bullshit. But let me just give the summary of it. It involves a Shinigami that drops a notebook called a Death Note into the human world, and the main protagonist, Light Yagami, finds it, picks it up, thinks it's a practical joke, and decides to just give it like one shot to see if this thing actually works. This Death Note, which can kill someone if you write their name in it. And you think of their face in your head, and you write their name down, and they die of a heart attack in about 40 seconds. And so he gives it a shot, and he ends up going on this god complex stuff on trying to make the world better, blah blah blah. There's another person, L, who's trying to stop him. He tried to stop the person who's doing all of this killing of criminals and all that. And I know I don't do this. I know I'm not very good at giving these summaries, but I'm doing my best. If it just sounds like I'm not liking any of these, trust me, I do like all of the ones that I have named off so far. I do like all of them. So don't think that I don't like them if I'm so depressive about talking about them. That's just how I am. But that was basically the summary of Death Note. Not summary, synopsis, sort of, something like that. Anyway, up next is Code Geass, which is really, I haven't watched it in forever. It involves the character named Lelouch V. Britannia, who is the son of the emperor or king, or I don't know if it's king or emperor, but the ruler of the Britannia country, who is taking like over a bunch of places, including Japan, which is now called Area 11. And he gets this power called the Geass, where he can have people, or he can basically control people once. Keyword here, once. After that, he can't control the same person twice, or give him a second command after it's already been done. In this one, there are 2 seasons, and apparently a third one that's coming out for a movie. There was an OVA that came out, but I do recommend watching this because it is a very good it's very strategic for this character to try to get everything that he wants. Basically, it's like the best analogy is the analogy that he puts for himself is like a big old game of chess that he's playing with the Britannia country, trying to get Japan their freedom and all that stuff. And up next is Seraph of the End, which is a vampire anime manga. And again, this is this is just like Noragami, where I read the manga before the anime because I got the first volume in that same of this in the same giveaway as the Noragami one, and I really enjoyed it. I decided to keep reading it. I think I kept track of that one more than Noragami, but it's a really good anime to check out. And like I said, it's about vampires coming out from underground because a virus hit. I don't know if it's true that a virus actually hit, because it's like later in the manga, there's like so much that is sort of being revealed right now, and it has to do with this at least 2 main characters, Yuichiro and Michaela, who I'm not going to really spoil that. Something happens to one of them and they get turned into a vampire. I'll let you watch and decide which one it is. But one really hates vampires. One gets killed and turned into a vampire, which is ironic though. But anyway, I'll let you go watch and find out who who it happened to be. It happens at the end of the very first episode, sort of. First episode, second episode, you find out something like that. So one, you'll find out eventually if you go watch it. Now this next one is the anime that for me got me started into watching more and more anime, and that is Inuyasha. Now the summary for this is the main character, ironically not Inuyasha, it's Kagome, who falls into a well on her family property, which is a shrine, and falls and goes back in time to the medieval era, feudal era, where there happens to be demons and ghosts and all kind and these supernatural beings that plague the land, and there's a special, and the main premise of it, the whole series is the sacred jewel, which gives demons their an ultimate power. They're like basically their final form kind of thing. And the whole premise of it is keeping that away from others, keeping from other demons, and it involves also a relationship like kind of weirdly going forward between Inuyasha and Kagome. Inuyasha, who is a half demon, half what? Is it fox or is it no dog? It's half dog demon, and all kinds of stuff happens. A lot of people have watched it when they're first getting into anime. It's one of the first that are kind of recommended, I guess. So if you haven't really watched it, I would give it a shot because a lot of people have watched this one when they started, along with this next one, which is Fullmetal Alchemist. Which this again, I'm just gonna be real quick with the summary. I don't know if I'll be real quick with the other one, but I'll be real quick with this one. It involves Edward and Alphonse, who try to bring their mother back when she dies, using alchemy, which is a taboo in the country, and it ends up taking his right arm and left leg. I may have that backwards. I think it's right arm, left leg, and no, it takes off his left leg and his brother's body, and then he does a soul transmutation to transfer Alphonse's soul to a suit of armor. So that's the best he could do, sacrificing his right arm. Yeah, right arm. And by doing that. And now they're and now the whole story is just them trying to find their bodies back, but it ends up them getting into some crazy shit of government conspiracies and all kinds of crap. And I'm talking about both Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, of course. It has the same premise for both. So, One Punch Man basically is about a person named Saitama who just wants to be a hero for fun, but is extremely overpowered, and he's bored because he can only defeat people with one punch. because he actually wants a challenge. So it's just like boring every time something happens for him, and it just goes with him trying to be a hero for fun. That's basically the premise of it. The whole premise of it is just that. I mean, yes, there's like a whole government agency for heroes, but the main premise is that Saitama is bored. He wants to be a superhero for fun, but he's bored because he's way too overpowered. That one, real quick, that's fine. Okay, up next is Attack on Titan, which this is again one that everyone has at least probably heard of, if they haven't watched it. Now this has to do with humanity being being pushed to the brink by these creatures called Titans, who are like giant humanoid shaped creatures who basically eat humans, and it revolves around three main characters: Eren, Armin, and Mikasa. I actually don't like when people call her Mikasa. I know there's jokes made for it, but people actually just call her as Mikasa. I'm like, it's called Mikasa. But anyway, that's just a little pet peeve that I have about that. But it's basically Eren vowing to destroy all the time so he can experience the world outside the walls that are basically trapping them in, which are trying to protect them from these Titans. And that's all I'm going to say for it right now. Okay, now we're up to my top 5. My top 5 favorite shonen anime. Number 5, 7 Deadly Sins. Now this one is a series that's about someone in a government framed these groups of people called the Seven Deadly Sins, saying that they killed this one person, making them criminals. And basically the first season is all about rounding most of them up and trying to stop these, trying to want to clear their name a bit and stop this person from, summoning the Demon Clan back. By the way, by season 2, you'll find out that failed. Just saying. And the reason I really like this show is because it has a mix of like the comedy and action that the main protagonist Meliodas has, because he's a freaking pervert, and he's able to put it in any comedic situation, whether it's an action situation, he's able to put it through comedically. But there's also like a bunch of secrets for a bunch of these characters as well, that some are revealed in this second season, Revival of the Commandments. And I really recommend giving this one a watch. Number 4, My Hero Academia. Now this one is sort of newer. I forgot when it started. 20... It's having the 3rd season right now. The 2nd season was last year. Season before that... Was it 2016? 2016 or 2015? Around sometime around that is whenever it started. But it revolves around the character Midoriya, nicknamed as Deku, and he vows to be a hero like his. I should probably start with the setting. and it's a world where everyone is born with some type of power, or as they call it, quirks. Some useless, some very useful when it comes to being heroes. And poor Deku was born without one. He wanted, but he really wanted to be a hero like his idol, All Might. And it goes through a bunch of stuff about friendship as well. Another one that's about friendship that has like a friendship plot to it as well. But he's able to gain a quirk because of All Might's quirk, of what All Might's actual quirk is, being able to transfer his quirk to someone else. So I ended up training Deku to make sure he's built enough to be able to withstand the power of it, at least 5% of it, so he can be able to enter the UA Academy for Heroes. And it just goes through of him trying to work his ass off, trying to try and be a hero. Up next, number 3, Assassination Classroom. Now this one, I almost cried at the end. I don't cry to I've never cried to any anime. I've come close to some like Anohana and Assassination Classroom, Clannad a little bit. Not as much as Anohana, but Clannad, Angel Beats, the typical ones that are supposed to make you cry. I almost cry. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't cry. I get close though. Anyway, Assassination Classroom has one of the weirdest concepts of a creature who is actually, when he says that he's actually a human, called Koro Sensei, which everyone just calls Octopus or Koro Sensei, because that's what he looks like. He's just a yellow blob with tentacles. Nothing can hurt him except certain types of weapons. And he vows to destroy the Earth by the time these kids in this classroom graduate. But in the meantime, he teaches them. He actually helps them, because it's a class. It's a class where they're like rejects and people who are shown as a model of what not to be and that kind of stuff to other people in the school. Basically, they're made fun of and all that stuff. If you enjoy the video, why not consider subscribing for more content? I will see you in the next video. Bye.